Hey, I'm Tom, welcome back to Sony 365. Thank you so much for watching. This video is all about the Sony Xperia 10 Mark III. I rate this very highly. In fact, I'm going to say some things about this phone I really wasn't expecting to say. So let's show you the unboxing footage here, which I actually shot before the previous video, which you may have seen on the Wenner 3 smart strap. But then I had the COVID jab and I wasn't expecting it to knock me for 6, and it did. You might hear it in my voice still. Anyway, I've had the device now for nearly a couple of weeks, so I'm ready to tell you what I feel about it. Without any further ado, hey, if you love Sony, make sure you're subbed to the channel, because straight after the 10 Mark III video here, we've got the XM4 video, the WF-1000 XM4 video, and then I would have thought probably the 1 Mark III. I think Sony must be ready to send that across to me pretty much now, don't you reckon? Anyway, hit that like button and let's get into it right now. If you don't feel pressured to hit it, just hit it if, you know, if that feels right. Hit it. So look, as I'm looking at this now, I love the understated looks. It's funny because if you hold it up and catch the light just right, even though this is the boring sort of black version, I love the blue version, white's okay. This is the sort of boring black version, but the outside of the phone, it just kind of has this blue glass line around it. It looks good. This looks more expensive than it is, but I can guarantee you the complaints that other YouTubers are gonna have are, it's too expensive, camera's not good enough. What else will they be complaining about? They'll probably have a whinge about the 21:9 aspect ratio as well. But I'm going to explain to you why all of those things, not only are they not a problem, I'm going to explain why. Yeah, this has really grown on me. So look, 399, 429 equivalent in the States. Okay, it's a mid-ranger at the higher kind of end of mid-range. And it's a really, really competitive space, this. It's difficult for any manufacturer to compete here and win. It's just flooded with competition. But I like what Sony's doing here. First up, we have to remember that no one manufacturer absolutely nails everything. You know, the general kind of winning formula, if you like, in terms of most tech reviewers, I suppose, is look at the specs. How, you know, what's the manufacturer that gives you the most number of cool specs, you know, for the money? That kind of seems to be what seals the deal for most tech reviewers, and I guess a lot of people as well. Sony's doing things differently here. This is not a massive spec fight. It's something a little bit different. It's a more sensible approach, I would argue, and what you have here is a product that's easier to live with on the day-to-day for many years. I mean, 3 years, no problem. In fact, we're going to come on to that in a second. This is an easy phone to live with. So just before I go into the design and the UI and display and so on, have a little think and think if there's any phone out there at this price point that has these things. The beautiful OLED display, which is unobstructed with a notch or a pinhole camera, anything like that, notification light, Gorilla Glass front and back, flagship level water and dust resistance, 5G, dual SIM, a really good battery. This is 4,500 milliamp hours. You know, let me know if you can think of anything that does all of that. And now let's look at the design. So the design here, 169 grams. This has a bit of heft to it, but it's sensible and it's in keeping with what you would expect at this price point. As you may have seen in my previous videos, I never ever bought into this idea for one moment that for a phone to be premium, it has to be heavy. That's rubbish. This is a sensible weight. I love the form factor. 21:9 works for me very, very well. Not just because of watching movies, which is great, obviously, but just because of it's such a slim device, easy to handle. Yeah, this is a good looking phone in a very understated, classically Sony way. USB 3.1 down the bottom here, headphone jack up the top, volume rocker, fingerprint scanner, which is nice and fast actually, surprisingly so. Really accurate, I like it very much. Google Assistant button here, SD card on the other side there, micro SD, expandable up to 1 terabyte. You don't need a SIM ejector tool or anything like that. Just pop it open and you're good to go. That's another, again, it's these little touches that make this phone so easy to live with. They're not headline grabbing, attention seeking, spec madness that a lot of tech reviewers love. And I don't knock them for that. I mean, it's exciting, all these wonderful, things. But on the day-to-day, these little touches, Sony's done a lot of thinking here. They make the phone easy to live with. That's a win, and it's a win that tends to get missed. Now, let's talk about the UI here. It's, again, like we're used to seeing from Sony. It is basically, I think it's fair to say, pure Android 11. I really like it very much. There's just that little sprinkling of Sony magic here on top. Very limited amount, but it really works. It adds value. We're not talking bloatware here. For example, SideSense. It makes perfect use of this form factor. A little double tap there on the side. There's a number of things you can do here that really make this device easy to use one-handed. It's perfect for multitasking. These are the kind of things we've seen before on the 5 Mark II beforehand and the more expensive flagships. But yeah, this is the Sony magic that I'm talking about that's sprinkled on top of pure Android. But what is new here is multi-window switch, and I absolutely love this. Yeah, there's a lot to enjoy here actually, but let's talk about the display, which is something else to really get into. Again, as you would expect, it's a beautiful HDR OLED panel. I'm going to just say this straight off the bat, it doesn't get as bright as I would like. There's room for improvement there, and that's been a theme, hasn't it, for a while now with these Xperia devices. It's not massively problematic, but it would make it easier if it was a bit brighter. It's full HDR. For something like Netflix, this is an absolute win. It's again that combination of the 21:9 and the beautiful contrast here. The colors are fantastic. It's a very cinematic experience. It is absolutely true that. And for what it's worth, you can tweak it to your own individual preferences as well there. For me, if you're the kind of person who watches a lot of YouTube, don't forget you can go full screen if you don't want the black bars, and most of the time you can get away with it. When you do get away with it, you get that beautiful cinematic feel with even average looking YouTube videos. So for me so far, design, win, display, win, UI, win, sound quality here on the speaker, not a win. Good enough, but I wouldn't say it was a win. The mono bottom firing speaker here, it's loud but not loud, like really loud, but who cares, because you hopefully will be using these free headphones, which I had a listen to. They're surprisingly good. And again, I'm going to come back to this at the end, but this whole thing about we're not getting good value here from this phone, which a lot of people I'm sure are going to say, wow, those headphones, if that isn't, with this phone, if that's not good value, then I actually don't know what is. And there's good value on day one when you've got the new super duper specs, but then there's good value 3 years down the line. And I think that's where this is really going to come into its own. But yes, don't worry too much about not having stereo front-facing speakers like on the super duper expensive Xperia models. This will get you by. This is good enough, but you've got the LDAC support in there, the high-res wireless audio. Yeah, you're in good shape here because, of course, you have the headphone jack. That's another, wonderful thing here. And let's never forget that. This is a very complete package when it comes to the audio lovers out there. So let's talk about the performance. 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs on board, and don't forget you've got that micro SD card there to get up to 1 terabyte storage on that. I mean, that's a good start. What people are going to get a little bit upset about potentially is that we haven't got Snapdragon's 700 series chip in here. It's the 690. Am I worried about that? Not really. In theory, if we were running a 700 chip, we could eke out better performance in the camera department, and that would be welcome, don't get me wrong. But the camera setup here is very competent and I like it. Okay, so for the heavy gamers, yes, you're going to improve the frame rates, less drop frames and so on, but actually for most people, this will do the job, and it will do the job comfortably as time goes on. I'm just not worried about that. I'm not saying that I wouldn't prefer a 700 chip in there, of course, but I don't want to jump on this likely bandwagon that it should have been a 700. I know there are phones out there that will have it at this price point, but again, what I'm thinking about here is the holistic approach that Sony's taken, the overall package, the unique Sony features that are really adding value here that maybe don't get the attention so much, and the long-term easy to live with factor that's going on here. That's what I'm really focused on. 690 is good enough. So the battery is huge, and for this, you know, device especially, you're going to get through a day comfortably. Look, I know someone is going to say, well, you know, I bought this and I didn't get through a day. Well, I'd love to know how, because you'd have to deliberately try and tank the battery, and you'd have to work incredibly hard to do it. This will get you through a day comfortably. I have no problem in saying that. It's reassuring. And the other thing, of course, is this is a Sony, so the battery is going to be in very good shape 3 years down the line. Sony helps you take care of the battery there and make sure that you're not going to degrade it too quickly, and I really like that. Again, it's not talked about enough. It's a good thing to have in the mix there. Now, it's true, the battery included here in the box is not great. Having said that, I mean, it's in the box. You know, we're not seeing that happen too much anymore, are we? So, you know, there is that, but it's not a fast charger. You can do charging up to 33 watt fast charging, which is decent, but again, it's a 4,500 milliamp hour battery, so you don't have that kind of battery anxiety to deal with at all. So yeah, generally speaking, this looks good. So yeah, the camera tech, this is a nice little, you know, reasonably versatile setup that we have at the back here. Classic Sony. Color science is going to be exactly what you're probably expecting, I would say. So what are we dealing with? The main 12 megapixel lens, lovely classic Sony stuff here. The telephoto here, 2x optical zoom. You get in closer to the action there, and the 8 megapixel ultra wide, of course. Yeah, I like this setup. There's lots to enjoy here. Have a really good play with the setup. You're going to get nice shots, and of course it's that classic natural Sony look that we love. Now, there isn't optical image stabilization, it's electronic image stabilization. It's okay, it's not great. No, you can get away with it, but you have to be mindful of keeping an eye on that. Of course, you know, this is the mid-ranger. You're not going to have that Pro App magic that I absolutely love on the more expensive models. But you know that you're not going to be out shooting RAW. Well, you can't shoot RAW, but I expect you wouldn't be wanting to or needing to shoot RAW on this device at this price point. Again, looking at these photos here, tell me what you think. I want to know your opinion, as with every single video that I do. The thing I love most about this channel, it's the level of interaction I have with you. We have a proper community here. We're not the biggest channel in the world by any stretch of the imagination, but proper Sony fans here. And a lot of people who are coming back to Sony or are new to Sony, and it's great to interact with you types of people as well. So yeah, there's good stuff here. Night mode, portrait mode, you know, nice bit of bokeh there. Burst mode, auto HDR. It's all right. You know, this is really solid. I've enjoyed taking pictures on this. I like it, but it's not perfect. Of course it isn't. It's the same old area. It's that low light is still a bit of a struggle. It's better than it has been before. And well, obviously with the 700 chip, I think it could be even better than it is right here, but it's good. It's good enough at this price point, I would say. But 4K video is possible. It's pretty good. It copes well. Slow motion, it's nice to see that. You know, it's well executed here. It looks impressive. Again, let me know what you think of the video that you're seeing here. But generally, yeah, this works for me. Front-facing cameras. I mean, look, I'm not a selfie person. That's pretty obvious, I would have thought. This is an 8 megapixel front-facing camera, and it does the job, and there's not much more to say about it than that, other than you're not going to think, wow, this is terrible, but you're going to think, all right, I can work with that, probably. At least that's how I feel about it. Brazil. This video is dedicated to all of you guys watching from Brazil. Brazil. And Igor's from Brazil. So in terms of the negatives and the positives here, and then I'll give you my conclusion. Negatives, the charge is not very good. Not worried about that because, you know, we've got the fast charging there and the battery's huge. Chipset's not the 700. I would like a 700, but I wouldn't let that put me off this device. Camera performance is meh. The screen brightness, yes, it's fair to say that should be brighter. And also the Sony apps that we used to see, like the album and so on. Yeah, I want to see that back. Come on, Sony, it can't be that difficult to do. And I know that everyone would love that, me included. Negatives. Positives. This is a unique offering. We live in a world now where tech reviewers and YouTubers and so many people are just obsessed with sort of playing phone top trumps and ending up with a phone that isn't as easy to live with as it should be because they got kind of tempted down this path where they were concentrating just on these, you know, attention-grabbing specs. This doesn't do any of that. It's kind of reminding me of the other Sonys up in the dusty end there in the price points up above $1,000 and so on, in the sense that this is a phone with nothing to prove. This is Sony. Sony doesn't have anything to prove. Sony is committed to giving you a product that's well built, not flash, does the job with understated style. And I think that's what this phone does really, really well. All of these things that you cannot get on other phones are in this beautiful understated package, and this is a great phone to have for 3 years. It's not going to hit the headlines like a lot of the really super duper stuff coming out of China and South Korea, of course, but I think it's very compelling for the long term. And each day that you use this, you will enjoy it more than the last. That's certainly been my experience so far. And that's the Sony way. Doesn't hit the headlines, but my goodness, it's fun and enjoyable to live with. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Don't do the point.